Dear students, welcome to the lecture series on financial accounting. Today we are taking up unit 9 of financial accounting, and under financial accounting's unit 9 we will discuss partnership accounts. Today the topic which we are taking under partnership account is insolvency of partner. When we are talking about insolvency of partner, our objective of this lecture is to understand the accounting treatment to be done when one of the partners or all the partners become insolvent. We shall take into consideration the relevant rules and the guidelines which are being given to account for the transactions at the time of dissolution of the firm when either of the partner or all the partners become insolvent. So, we shall start up discussing about the insolvency of partner. Now, first of all, we will understand the need and the meaning of insolvency of partner. Till now, it was assumed that in case of a debit balance in partner's capital account, he will bring in cash. It may be recalled that a partner can contribute cash from his personal account only after meeting his personal liabilities. Considering surplus in the personal account of a partner, suppose a partner is unable to contribute fully or partially the debit balance appearing in the capital account. Now, we are in a situation where a partner who is having a debit balance in his or her capital account has to bring the money, but if the personal liabilities are exceeding the personal belongings or anything in the hand, that is the personal assets are less than the personal liabilities of the person who is having a debit balance, in that case what he is to be done? In that case what he has to do? Let us see what the situation is called. The portion of the debit balance which is unable to contribute by the person, that means the portion of the debit balance which he is unable to contribute is known as insolvency loss. So, where we are talking about insolvency, it is that portion of the capital account of the partner which is unable to bring in cash, and we are talking about the debit balance of the capital account. Loss arising on account of insolvency is not treated as an ordinary business loss to be shared by partners in their profit sharing ratio, because we know that any loss arising in the ordinary course of the business transaction, it is to be shared by the partners in their profit sharing ratio. Now, when there is a loss on account of insolvency, how it is to be treated? Let us understand it. Section 48 of the Partnership Act 1932 requires that asset of the firm, including any sum contributed by partners to make up deficiency of capital, are utilized in first place to settle liabilities and partners' loan, and the residue, if any, shall be applied in paying each partners ratably what is due to him on account of capital. Now, let us analyze the situations. If in a firm there are only two partners and one partner who has a debit balance is declared insolvent and the second partner has a credit balance, in such situation, loss in capital account in firm's partner will be compensated by transferring the amount from second partner's capital account, and the balance amount will be paid to the second partner. If the insolvent partner is in a position of paying something, it will be brought to the firm and will be paid to the other partner. Now, here we are having a situation where there are two partners and one has become insolvent. The other partner is in a position to make that loss good. So, he will bring the cash and do the compensation of the loss. If the firm has more than two partners and one partner has a debit balance in his capital account goes insolvent, then the problem arises that how the loss of capital in the account of insolvent partner is to be adjusted. If partners express agreement to the effect, they will adjust the loss as per the ratio decided by agreement. If there is no such agreement, we need to follow Garner versus Murray decision. So, under this situation, we are giving that there are two or more partners and one of the partner has become insolvent. Under that case, now this insolvency which has arisen on account of one of the partners becoming insolvent can be met up by making a agreement, and where there is an silence in the agreement, we can follow the Garner versus Murray decision. So, where there is express thing, the implied thing or the general thing cannot supersede it, but where the express agreement is absent, we will follow the general rule. So, under such situation where one of the partner has a debit balance and he has gone insolvent, then we have to follow the Garner versus Murray decision where there is no agreement between the partners. Garner versus Murray decision is one of the very important case to settle the debit balance of the insolvent partners. Under this situation, there were three partners, Garner, Murray and William. William has gone insolvent and he has a debit balance in its capital account. So, they had made a mechanism or a case has been decided where we have to follow the particular judgment lines and have to settle the accounts of all the partners when a insolvency has occurred in the partnership firm. So, let us understand the mechanism which is being given or the guidelines or the case which is being decided under Garner versus Murray. Let us understand the mechanism of the Garner versus Murray case. The first point or the first important criteria is a solvent partner should bring his share in realization loss in cash. Second one is other partners should divide the debit balance of capital account of the insolvent partner in the capital ratio. Capital means capital standing in the book of the firm immediately before dissolution. So, let us understand what we have to do under Garner versus Murray case. First of all, the solvent partners, that means those partners who are not being declared insolvent, who are in a position to bring in the necessary cash to pay the required liabilities, they have to bring their share in the realization loss in cash. So, where we prepare a realization account and there is loss, such loss has to be brought by the solvent partners in cash. Second thing which is being given under Garner versus Murray case is other partners, that means solvent partners should divide the debit balance of the capital account of insolvent partner in capital ratio, meaning thereby that whatever debit balance is standing in the account of the insolvent partner after he is able to pay certain sum, whatever is being left out, such deficiency has to be borne by the solvent partners in their capital ratio, not the profit sharing ratio, because ordinary loss or profits are to be shared in the profit sharing ratio, while the loss on account of realization is to be shared by the solvent partner in their capital sharing ratio. Now, if the capital is fluctuating, what we have to do? Adjustments are made in the capital account before the process of dissolution. Retained profits and loss to be transferred to the capital account, and thereafter the same is taken as basis. Entries related to realization are effected in the capital account, but for calculation of capital, ratio does not get affected by the entries made for dissolution, as we are taking the capital account before the entries to be given effect of the dissolution. Although we have to do certain adjustment in relation to the distribution of retained profits and losses, but all those entries which are pertaining to the dissolution, they need not to be taken into consideration when we take the figures of capital in which the deficiency of the insolvent partner has to be shared between the solvent partners. Now, if the capital is fixed, all adjustments are done through the current account. Therefore, the balance of fixed capital account prior to the dissolution is taken as basis. So, we can say that where there is a fixed capital account, we simply have to take the opening balances of the capital account, while if there is a fluctuating capital, we have to give the consideration of all the adjustments and we have to take the adjusted capital, but one thing we have to keep in mind is that entries in relation to the dissolution should not be taken into consideration, as the scheme of Garner and Murray suggests that capital means that capital which is standing before the dissolution. Now we will take up a practical example to understand this scheme of Garner versus Murray. One thing students you need to keep in mind is that if the question does not specifically ask to solve the question as per Garner and Murray case, we need to follow the agreement which is being given in the question, because under Partnership Act the partnership deed is supreme. All the rules and regulations in relation to the reconstitution of the firm, in relation to the dissolution of the firm or in relation to the insolvency are being given in the partnership deed. So first of all we have to move as per the agreement, and where there is silence of any agreement we have to follow the Garner versus Murray in the case of insolvency or any other thing which is being suggested. So we will be taking up this example first to understand Garner versus Murray case in the case of insolvency of partner. Now under this example we are having three partners A, B and C. A, B and C are sharing profits and losses in the ratio of 6:3:5. The balance sheet stood on 31st March 2007 as follows. It is the balance sheet having liabilities and assets. On the liability side we are having first of all creditors. Creditors amounts to 30,000. Loans on mortgage of land and building 4,000. Capital A and C is being given as 25,000 and 15,000 respectively. Current account of the partners are also being given, and it is having a credit balance both of A and C, and it is 1,000 and 500 respectively. The total of the liability side is 75,500. Now coming to the asset side, we are having bank, it is 2,500, debtors 30,000, stock 23,100, furniture 5,000, land and building 10,000, and C current account, it is showing a debit balance of 4,900, and the total of the assets and the liability side is matching, and it is 75,500. Now let us understand the scheme which is being given. All this additional information have to be taken into consideration to find out the ultimate balances in the bank account and in the partners current and capital account. It was decided to dissolve the partnership. As on the date of balance sheet, the assets of the firm were realized as under: land and building 6,000, furniture 2,000, stock 15,000 and debtors 20,000. Now when there is a dissolution of the firm, we need to prepare an account which is known as realization account, and under realization account we have to transfer assets and liabilities which are appearing in the balance sheet at their book value, and any realization and payment of the external liabilities would also be shown under that account, so that we can ultimately find out the loss or profit out of the realization account. So here the information in relation to the realization of the assets are being given, so we have to prepare a realization account and we have to account for the realization of these assets in the realization account. Now what about the creditors? The sundry creditors agreed to receive 75 paisa in a rupee in full satisfaction of their claim. So we have to do the 75% of the balance of the creditors which are appearing in the balance sheet as on the date of dissolution. Loan on mortgage was paid, so we have to show the payment of loan under realization account. It was ascertained that B has become insolvent, and we know that B is also having a debit balance in the current account. Now he has become insolvent. B's state can contribute only 50 paisa in a rupee. That means whatever has been the debit balance, only 50% of it is being paid by him. Now the question says to us, write up a realization account, bank account, capital account and current account of partners as per rules of Garner versus Murray. So we will start up our solutions. First of all, we have to prepare the realization account to ascertain the profit or loss. So let us see this realization account. So we are having the realization account. First of all, we have to transfer the assets which are appearing in the balance sheet, and we have to transfer these assets on the book value. So sundry debtors, stock, furniture, land and building are being transferred at their book value. We have left the bank account because we have to prepare that account separately and it need not to be transferred to the realization account. On the liability side, we have transferred external liabilities to the realization account, and that too at their book value. So here we have transferred sundry creditors 30,000 and loan. This loan is on account of the mortgage which is being given in the balance sheet. It is 4,000. Now we have realized certain assets which were given in the form of additional information. These assets are land 6,000, furniture 2,000, stock 15,000 and debtors 20,000. Together we have realized on account of the sales of the assets at 43,000. We have also paid certain liabilities. That means the external liabilities and expenses on realization are being paid off, which is to be shown on the debit side of realization account. Here the creditors are being paid 22,500 because we were asked to pay the creditors at 75% of their claim. So in full settlement they have received the 75% of 30,000 and it amounts to 22,500. Loan has been paid off in full and it is 4,000. Expenses on the realization are being also given to us and it is 2,000. So together we have paid 28,500. Now we have to ascertain profit or loss. We can ascertain that debit side of the realization account is exceeding the credit side. So we have incurred loss on the realization. The debit side's total is 96,600. We need to subtract 34,000 and 43,000 out of it. So we have recorded the loss of 19,600, which has to be shared between A, B and C in their profit sharing ratio, and A is getting 8,400, B is getting 4,200 and C is getting 7,000 as a profit sharing ratio of 6:3:5. So 19,600 has been distributed accordingly. Now the next account we need to prepare is partner's current account. Now we have to take into account the Garner versus Murray scheme. Under Garner versus Murray scheme, realization loss has to be brought in cash by the solvent partner. So when we prepare the current account, first of all we have to start with the opening balances of the current account. Then we will transfer this loss which we have ascertained by the realization account, and the solvent partners will bring the amount of loss in cash. Here solvent partners are A and C. So 8,400 and 7,000 will be brought in by these partners in cash. So let us see this partner's current account. Here partner's current account is being prepared and we have started this account with the opening balances of the partner's account. So A and C are having the credit balances and they amount to 1,000 and 500 respectively, while the B is showing a debit balance and we have written on the debit side the opening balance of B's account as 4,900. Now next step is to transfer the realization loss. Here on the debit side it is being reflected as 8,400, 4,200 and 7,000 in the account column of A, B and C respectively. Now what happens that as per the Garner versus Murray scheme, they have to bring the cash. So A has brought 8,400 and C has brought 7,000. Such amount is being brought on account of the realization loss. Now what we need to do is we will do the totalings. So here our total comes as 9,400 on the credit side, while of C 7,500. And when we do the total of the debit side of B's account, it is coming as 9,100. and we know that B is able to pay 50% of the amount out of its estate. So 50% of 9,100 is being paid by B. So we have written by bank in the partner's current account, and it is 4,550. Rest 4,550 would be transferred to the capital account of B, and we will do the balancing of rest to partners. Such balances will be transferred to the partner's capital account. So A is having a account closing balance as 1000 and B is having as 500, while B is showing 4,550 as the balance, and it is a debit balance. Now let's move ahead and start preparing the partner's capital account. When we see the partner's capital account, we are having the opening balances of A and C as 25,000 and 15,000. Such balance is of the fixed capital account, and we have to take into consideration solvent partners such balances, that is 25,000 and 15,000, as the base for distribution of the deficiency of the insolvent partners, because we have right now discussed that when there is a fixed capital, under that case we have to take up the balance of the capital account before giving effect to the dissolution entries, and dissolution entries would be passed under realization account. So we have to take into consideration the 25,000 and 15,000 capital. So our ratio would be 25:15 or 5:3, in which we have to distribute the insolvency or the deficiency of this insolvent partner. Now first of all, let us see this account. As we have right now said that on the credit side we are having the opening balances as 25,000 and 15,000 of A and C, while we have transferred the current accounts balances in capital account. For A we have arrived 1000 and for C 500, while for B we were having 4,550. Now this 4,550 has to be distributed among A and C in the ratio of their capitals of 25:15. So we have simply done 5/8 of 4,550, and it comes to 2,844, and C's capital is also showing 3/8 of 4,550, and it is 1,706. So we have closed the account of B, while on the debit side we have passed the entry to B's capital, and under A's capital we have debited it. So A's capital debit to B's capital 2,884. It is simply the posting of the entry, and here also the effect of the debit would be given in C's account. So we can ascertain the final balances which is to be paid to the remaining or solvent partners. For A it is coming as 23,156 and for C 13,794. Now we have to prepare the final account, and it is bank account, and it will close. We will start it with the opening balance as has been given in our balance sheet, and it amounts to 2,500. Now we have to record the assets which are being realized. So it is to realization. We have simply posted it from the realization account, and it amounts to 43,000. Similarly, on the credit side we have posted the expenses and liabilities which are being paid off, and it is 28,500. Now we have also A's capital account and C's capital account. This money is brought in by A and C on account of the realization loss. It is 8,400 and 7,000. Now B is also being given certain money into the firm, and it is 4,550. It is on account of the realization from its estate. And on the credit side we are having now the final payments which are being made to A and C at the time of the dissolution of the firm. So it is 23,156 and 13,794 for A and C respectively. These amount we have ascertained from their capital account when we have find out the final balances to be paid to them. So the total of debit and credit is matching up. It is 65,450. With this we have learned entire mechanism of preparation of the accounts when one of the partners become insolvent. With this we are ending up our lecture of today. In today's lecture we have discussed in detail insolvency of the partner, and under insolvency of the partner we have learned the mechanism of preparation of the accounts and to settle the accounts of solvent as well as insolvent partners. We have discussed in length Garner versus Murray case and solved a practical question based on Garner versus Murray case. Thank you.